All right, anchovy, take one.
People like to ask me what my favorite condiments are, and the reality is that I don't actually buy that many condiments. I think things that you can make at home that like are a complete recipe that you can then use throughout the week or your year, I do believe in because everyone can make it the same. And one of those things is anchovy butter. And I know I talk about anchovies a lot. They're my favorite ingredient. I know, we get it. But doing something like making anchovy butter is like a whole other portal into the world of anchovies. So anchovy butter is something that you can make and use for 40 different things. Today we're gonna roast some chicken with it. We're gonna make anchovy butter chicken fat croutons, a mustardy lemony salad, and then we're gonna eat everything together. It's gonna be amazing. It can be really overwhelming when you go grocery shopping to know what kind of anchovies that you're buying will be the best for what you're cooking. I like to say that you should have 2 types of anchovies on hand, your cooking and your snacking. That said, you can always snack on the ones that you cook with. I don't love cooking the ones that you should be snacking on because they kind of are too nice and too expensive to be just like melting into olive oil. But it's your life. 9 times out of 10, if you're at a big box grocery store in most parts of the United States, you can get your hands on a Cento tin. And these anchovies are good. They're good for cooking. If you're confused and you don't know which to buy, Cento is always a safe bet. We're gonna do a little anchovy tasting. So starting with Cento, I am a huge fan of Cento. They did send me a cease and desist when I put their logo on a shirt without asking, but no hard feelings. I thought it was good promo for us both. But I am a huge fan of what they do. Their tomato products, their anchovy, I think is like, to me, a pretty good standard for like what I would feel comfortable cooking with. Okay, so you can see that these are firm, they're meaty, they're pink. And if you taste them on their own, they're salty, they're meaty. They're like very salty, these ones. They are probably preserved and packed in salt much longer than say an expensive high quality anchovy, which their goal is to sort of just preserve the fish long enough to transport, but not so long that you eliminate the like beauty of an anchovy. These are Rizzoli brand. They are, to me, like a step above Cento, and to me, a really good middle ground. When I see and eat these, I think, okay, I can cook with them and I can eat them. Those are really good. They're not as salty, so they have like a plumpness, fresher flavor. And the third one, these are Cantabrian anchovies. I think that these are the nicest anchovy you can buy. Not this brand necessarily, although these are good, but any anchovy that's labeled Cantabrian anchovy. They are meatier, they are plumper, they are less salty. You can see that they look very different. I mean, most people would be like, it looks like you just put 3 anchovies on a plate, but to me, I see high, medium, and low. They're just thicker and richer. Cooking with these to me is sort of a crime, although a luxury. Like you could do it and it would be great, but to me, these are like eating anchovies. They're very like oceanic, but also the least salty. They're really, really good. Basically, you can use any of these anchovies for anchovy butter because 2 uses for anchovy butter is to eat it sort of raw in its naked state, or you can cook with it, meaning you can roast with it, you can smear chicken with it, you can swirl it into beans, you can like do so many different things with it. So for this recipe, you can do as much or as little as you want. It's sort of like, I think if you're gonna do something like this, just make a whole bunch of it. Because for me, I'm gonna use it. I'm gonna use it in a lot of things. We've also scaled this down if you're just making 1 chicken or serving it with radishes to do it that way as well. There's no real substitute for softened butter. There's a lot of tricks out there. I saw one yesterday where it was like, if your butter's not softened, heat a jar with hot water and then empty it out and then put the jar over a stick of butter and I'm like, what are you doing? I think that the easiest and best way to soften butter quickly is to cut it into small pieces and let it sit out at room temperature for as long as you can, but it'll take a fraction of the time as it would otherwise. And anytime you're baking or cooking with butter and you use half a stick or you have 2 tablespoons left, I always just leave that out. And so this becomes like my room temperature butter that I use for like eating. I eat the butter. I eat the butter with salt all the time. I do. So I'm gonna go ahead and make our anchovy butter. I have about 2 tins of anchovies here. This anchovy butter is also, I will say, like very good with a steak. Something about the anchovy butter as well, which is also why dishes like bagna cauda work really well, is because the amount of fat coupled with the anchovy kind of like tames any sort of fishiness in the anchovy. It's like a really good partner. For this amount of butter, I'm gonna add like 4 cloves of garlic. Pepper, lots of it. You might not be making a pound of butter's worth of this stuff, but if you are, thanks for following along. The anchovies are salty and they'll add salt to the butter, but not so much that you can skip the salt. And this is the type of thing where you could take this butter, put it in the fridge in a container, and keep it for 2-3 months. Like, it's not gonna go bad. Later, when I'm eating this chicken, I'm gonna serve with some baguette and radishes to start, which is very French. I'll show you later, but this is my personal treat for right now. So we're gonna move on to our chicken. The recipe that is printed will be for 1 chicken, but because I'm feeding closer to 10, I'm gonna roast 2 whole chickens. 2 chickens from 2 different places together on 1 sheet tray. Isn't that nice? Late breaking news. Yeah, I can't roast these together because one is closer to 5 pounds and one is 3.5 pounds. Which is less hideous, when a chicken is splayed in front of you or when its breast is in front of you? When you think of roasting a chicken, where are you roasting a chicken? Are you roasting it in a cast iron? Are you roasting it in a sheet pan? Are you roasting it in a roasting dish? Just curious. No wrong answers.
Oh, I would use this Le Creuset dish that you have.
By popular demand, director's cut. We're gonna roast this one in this. This is called a brazier. We're not braising, but it is called a brazier. The shape and style of pot. More than a skillet, less than a pot, it's a brazier. So the smaller one's gonna go into this cute little cast iron, and we're gonna roast this one in this brazier. Anyway, look how nice they tuck the legs into the piece of fat at the end of the chicken. Do you see? It's like this chicken is splayed, but they take this piece of fat that's at the end of the chicken and they pierce it and use it as a way to truss the legs naturally. So thoughtful, so sweet, so tender, so farmy. With our chickens, we're gonna roast the usual suspects. We're gonna do some onions, some garlic, some thyme. I'm keeping that pretty simple because we're gonna serve it with like a mustardy salad. We'll have the radishes and butter. We'll have more anchovies. We'll have croutons. Like, there's a lot going on. But if you were doing like a 1-pot chicken and this was the only thing, you could do something like mushrooms in here, sliced fennel bulb, carrots, potatoes, anything to roast alongside the chicken. You can use thyme, you can use marjoram, you can use yellow onions or red onions, you could use shallots, you could use leeks. I like to leave the onion skin on. This is how I roast my turkey. This is how I roast my chicken. It's how I make my beans. It's how I braise my short ribs. So I'm gonna scatter these. And these onions will shrink as they roast. So you want an abundance of it because this is kind of like your side. We're gonna roast it with some more garlic. There's only 4 cloves in this head of garlic. So cool. I'm endlessly charmed by produce. I find it to be like a miracle that anything grows and that you eat it. I think that's so cool to me. This one has a 5. Wow. So cool. This one has, sorry, I'm 12. This one has 4. This one has 5, and this one has 10. This is so cool. This is all grown at the same time from the same farm, and it's all garlic, and it's all delicious. Wow, nature. So we have a nice little pile here. It's very Virgo energy. I'm just gonna season these on a sheet tray because it's easier to get in and all up on them. My pinch is like 3/4 of a teaspoon maybe. And just because there's salt and pepper in your butter does not mean you should not salt and pepper your chicken. I like to stick a lemon in the chicken. I find the zest and the juice kind of like keeps it steamy and citrusy in there. So for this butter, because I'm gonna eat some of it raw later, I'm gonna set that aside just in case I do the thing that I do, which is like touch chicken and then touch other things. And I wanna keep it separate to know that this has not been contaminated with chicken. All right, so the rest of this will be for our chicken. And for this, know that you'll also be like basting your chicken as it roasts. So the butter that does fall off, it's fine. but you wanna do your best to just smear it in and around. It's almost like working with clay, which I'm sure we all have. Little pats of it will go a long way. I like to keep them at the highest point of the bird because they'll melt and drip over the chicken. But don't worry, I do understand that this is an impossible task. So you're not crazy. But like I said, once this goes in the oven, you're gonna forget that this was the case. This is a really slippery chicken. The other one was a lot more cooperative. But this is, now I've fully given up the smear. And now I'm tucking. It's not impossible, it just is annoying, but again, I love cooking, so this chicken is just much easier to smear the butter onto. Gorge. No, it's fine, I'm past it. I've moved on spiritually. I'm tucking the butter in between the wings. You can go under the breast if you want. Dot it around the onions. Again, it's all going to the same place, it's all melting. You wanna melt this in a skillet and pour it over, do that too. See if I care. I'm gonna drizzle the onions with a little bit of olive oil just to get them started. I'm gonna season those with salt. Everything gets seasoned as you go. And these are gonna go into a 425-degree oven. I'm gonna check them after 45 minutes, but nothing's really gonna happen before that. So the chickens are in the oven, and now you can tear the bread for croutons, you can start to assemble your salad. But like for me, that is sort of the hardest part. And if I'm having people over, I'm like, I've made the butter, I know what I'm gonna serve for snacks, the chickens are in the oven, you're good to go. During this chicken roasting time, feel free to do anything you want. The time has come. A lot of people will ask me, how do you know when your chicken is done? That's a really good question. I think that the easiest way to tell is by wiggling the leg. Does it feel like it could be ripped from the bird? Another way that you can tell is by piercing the thickest part of the bird, and that is going to be probably the thigh down here. Does it feel like it's meeting resistance? Do you see any pink juices? This looks good to me. So I'm gonna let these chickens rest for about 10 minutes. And meanwhile, I'm gonna tear this bread. This is a day-old bread. People are always like, use day-old bread. And I'm like, have you ever tried tearing day-old bread? It's hard, but it's gonna be tender and crunchy once we make a crouton out of it. You could use a baguette, you could use a sourdough. I do like the ciabatta because look at how nice the big air holes are. It makes for like a really sort of ethereal crouton. Once these chickens rest, they're also gonna continue to like sort of give up their juices as they sit. We're gonna transfer the chicken, the onions, the garlic, all that stuff to a cutting board or a serving platter. And then we're gonna take our bread and toss it in the like remaining juices and butter, because that's when a bread becomes a crouton. After we toast it, that's when it becomes a crouton. Otherwise, it's soggy bread. Keep tearing. Okay, so chickens are out. They have been rested. They are cool enough to handle, not any longer too hot to handle. Don't worry about chicken being like hot. People are obsessed with hot food, and I don't believe that chicken should ever be like piping hot. I think warm chicken is perfect. If the onions are looking a little like jammy, I might throw them in with the croutons. So they'll get a little crispier, but that's optional. If you're like, I love a jammy onion, then you keep the onion jammy. Save some pan drippings for your chicken to pour over and save some for these croutons. I'm adding my bread. And if it needs it, which it might, another glug of olive oil. This is not the time to think about how much olive oil or butter you're using. And basically just kind of let the bread soak up all the chicken bits. So I'm gonna put this into an oven, keeping it at 425, just to get them like toasty. I'll toss them occasionally. We're gonna make a salad. This can be any salad you like. If you're like, I have a favorite salad, then now's a great time to make that salad. I'm gonna make like a bitter green salad with herbs, there's mustard. It's peppery, it's lemony, it's tangy. It's like a delicious respite from all of the chicken fat that you're about to eat. This is like a no recipe recipe. So this is a head of escarole. I love escarole because it's not too bitter and it's not too delicate. I find that some of the issue I take with like a red leaf or like a green leaf basic lettuce is that as soon as you dress it, it just like gives up everything that it used to have. It's a shell of its former self. But an escarole has like a bit of integrity left. I'm gonna use a little chive in this vinaigrette. A little mustard, some vinegar. That's a 1/4 cup of vinegar. Some pepper. We're gonna salt and pepper our leaves as well, but seasoning your dressing is just as important. This is barely a vinaigrette, by the way. This is more of a dressing because I'm not adding olive oil to this. I'm gonna basically use this as like the acidity to dress my greens. Wow. I don't want anyone breaking a tooth on these croutons, so I am gonna leave them on like the tender side. I do have to try one for science. Well, it's remarkable. So I'm gonna carve both chickens the same way. Ooh, actually what I'm gonna do is get a pot ready because I'm gonna have 2 gorgeous chicken carcasses waiting for me. And that means I get to make chicken broth. Lucky girl. So starting with the legs. This just like fell away immediately, which is another really good sign that your chicken was properly cooked through. And if you do this, it's not like extra time to make the broth. You don't have to cut up any additional vegetables if you don't want, although I'll probably put in another onion or 2. And then the breast, I'm gonna carve away. And I'm not even really carving. The meat should sort of like pull away. Go slow. The right side of my knife right now is hitting cartilage. It's hitting bone. So I have like something to work against. I'm not just like slicing into something. And that's how you know that you're not leaving a bunch of meat once it's carved away. This is the best part about carving a chicken though, is eating all the chicken as you go. But this is pretty spent. There's a little bit of garlic left in there. It's got some seasoning. There's like a little bit of meat. If you weren't watching, I would just scrape the meat from this carcass and eat it, but if I'm having people over, or even just cooking for myself and my husband, or whatever, I never carve the whole chicken. I only carve as much as I think we're gonna eat because sliced chicken doesn't keep as well or as long as like a whole quarter or a whole breast. So, a little fun tip about how I like to carve my chicken. I don't know where this piece of skin came from. Is that scary? Does it go there? I don't know. And then just kind of take some of your jammy onions or crispy onions, however you decided to do it today. And then some croutons. Some parsley. And if you want, let's say your chicken's been sitting out for a little bit, you can always heat up your pan drippings and drizzle them over. So this is our chicken. She is beautiful, she is gorgeous, she is stunning. Little radish on the side, little anchovy on the side to reinforce the fact that you are eating anchovy butter. And just like a simple, peppery, punchy, mustardy salad with chives and I don't know, this is like, to me, last meal status. A beautiful, perfect roast chicken that's been slathered in anchovy butter with a hyper acidic, punchy, almost bitter salad. To me, I could not ask for anything more. And I think that the wing is the best part because it is the best of the dark meat and the best of the white meat. It's like tender like dark meat, but has like the flavor of white meat. And it's fun to eat. I like the little bones. If loving the little bones is wrong, I don't want to be right. Or anything in there? I don't know.
Look at that.
It's my favorite bit.